Welcome to EdotGdot and Friends. My name is Elden Killian, and I'll be your host. And today I'm joined with my good friend Shane Provost.
My name is Shane. I'm the designated loser.
Yes, the designated loser. Not in life, just this game.
The only reason that Eldon likes to have me around is so that he's guaranteed wins.
I will admit, I like this game a lot more because when you play with me, I tend to win more often than most games I play.
But it's funny. But this game of all games is one where you can feel successful and still lose.
Yeah.
So losing isn't as bad on Great Western Trail.
Yeah. So speaking of, we actually haven't even got to the name of the show yet. Right. Today we're presenting games that I have played 20 times or more, and today we're doing Great Western Trail, a game that I've played over 20 times with Shane.
Yes.
How many times do you think you've played this game?
I would say probably 30, 35 times at least. Those are the ones I was awake for.
Yeah. And sometimes, yeah. Luckily, and those were the ones you weren't awake for, the ones you did best at.
Probably.
Anyway.
Now, we did have a couple of friends, when they played it, we could have played it 3 times while we waited for them to take their turn. But
that's right. That's the other great thing about playing with you is the games tend to go a little faster than with certain other players. Steve. Anyway.
Jason.
And Jason. That's right, Jason. Was quite the slow player. Anyway, so what makes you an interesting fellow? I guess I can introduce you. We've been friends for a while, a decade or more. We used to do theater stuff together, and
that's where we got our start. Really, was in theater, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
Sound of Music was the first time that we met.
Yeah, that sounds about right. Yeah. So I was directing, and what were you doing in that show? I don't remember.
I just helped build some of the sets.
Okay.
Yeah. That show.
Yeah, so we used to be really active in local theater, and so we're theater nerds, and then we found ourselves in a situation where playing games every night was a great idea, and so we did that for a while, and then you moved and ruined everything.
Yeah. Well, I got married, and I moved out of his house, and so he had to get married to play with. So
that's right. I had to go.
And we're now both better off.
Yes, we are. But it was both the worst of times and the best of times. I got to play a lot of really cool board games with some good people. It's a lot harder for me to play now that I have a wonderful woman at my side. But
luckily I have a wonderful woman as well, and so I do play just about every day. I play some.
Oh dang! I don't. I actually played quite a bit this last year. Not so much with her. She doesn't like to play as much. But anyway, that's a different story. But I guess this is a good as time as any for you to plug yourself here. You got a little YouTube channel.
Get here on this YouTube channel. I capitalized on COVID. Let's put it that way. A capitalist all the way. And I as Eldon mentioned, I love music and musicals, and I like writing music, and especially love doing parodies. So I have a YouTube channel that there are a lot of parodies about the COVID situation, just kind of having fun at our own expense, and so just YouTube Shane Provost, look for the American flag. I've got a couple that have been. I have one that's been viewed 1.5 thousand times, so 1,500 times or more. Pretty fun stuff.
Yeah,
parodies on COVID.
That's fun. So the last guest I had on, Eric Herman, one of his videos, I think the official count on his is he has 40 million views of one of his songs, and then but unofficially he claims it has 100 million views from people who stole it and put it on their own channels.
Right.
Yeah. So you're almost getting there. 1,500.
Yeah.
100
it's
million.
Fun to see one of your things on somebody else's playlist. I haven't found a couple of those.
That's fun. Yeah, that's
kind of
fun.
Neat.
Yeah, I haven't got that yet. But anyway, okay. So let's go ahead and get going. Let's talk about the game generally. So this was published in 2016 by Eggertspiel. It was brought over to the U.S. by Stronghold Games, and is actually part of their Great Designer series. And Alexander Pfister is considered a great designer. I guess he has a number of games I enjoy. I can't remember. Did you ever play Mombasa with us?
One time, yeah. I only played one play on that.
So that's an Alexander Pfister game too.
Okay.
Broom Service was one of his games. I think that won the Spiel des Jahres a few years before this one, or a year or two before, and then or was nominated at least. And then Oh My Goods is another one of his games. There's something else I just played the other day. I'm forgetting. Anyway, he's a good designer. Oh, Maracaibo. Have you played Maracaibo?
Oh, I remember seeing it on your shelf, but we never got around to it.
Yeah. I think I just gotten it that one time you came over, and I just barely got it. It sat on my shelf for a while before I got it played. But it's a lot like this game. I think you would really enjoy it.
Cool.
So it has some similarities. It's definitely its own game. But anyway, when I made this slideshow, though, this was ranked number 10 on BGG, which surprised me a little bit. I knew it was popular, but top 10 is that's a strong outing for a game.
Yeah, I just looked this morning. I saw that one surprised too. I looked this morning and it still is at top in the 10, number 10. So.
Yeah. So 10th best game of all time, by BGG.
Not really surprising though.
No. Well,
I mean, surprising that wow, that's a high number, but as much as I love the game, I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah. Surprise, we love the game. Anyway, and it has a rating of 8.3. I actually ranked this when I did my all game, when I ranked every game I've ever played in the last 10 years. It was my number one. And definitely, is that how you feel?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And I have exactly 50 plays of this recorded. So
almost all of them with me.
Yeah, I didn't go back and look, but probably, like you said, probably at least 3/5 or more.
Yeah,
I think me and you played it like 30 times in a month.
Yeah, something like that.
I think
I won once.
We played it like every day, and like a couple times some days.
Yeah,
close to every day. We didn't play every single day of the month, but anyway, so we played it a lot. And we played a lot.
I can only remember one win, so
that's
it says a lot for it that I played it 30 more times. And
that is a sign of a great game when you keep losing, and
you want to keep playing.
Anyway,
this is probably one of those games. A couple times, the only wins I ever got out of games was the first time I played it. Because I remember you getting really mad. You're like, what the heck? I had you come over and play my favorite game and you beat me the first time and then I never win again.
That's right.
I'm sure he's just being nice to me.
I'm sure. Unfortunately, no, that's not true. Okay. Like I said, this is actually fairly high regarded game. It has won a number of awards. So let's see if I can read some of these. So it won a Meeple's Choice Award, which is awarded by some website.
Some website.
I can't remember the name of it. So so interesting enough, as popular as this game is, it wasn't like I don't think it was nominated or it didn't win like any of the Spiel des Jahres or Kenner Spiel des Jahres, which is like the biggest awards. Uh-huh. It might have been on a recommended list, but it wasn't. I didn't see it on there. It did win the Golden Ludo, which is what country is that from? Spain. But like this was a couple years, so it already had a following, and then it released in Spain, and it won the Game of the Year in Spain.
Yeah,
it won the International Gamers Award, the Gra Ruco, which I think is Romania, and the UK Games Expo. It was their like they call it that's one of those awards that has like a whole series of them, and it won like their best Euro game, or European style game, and that was like 2 years ago. Or 2 or 3 years ago. I should have written the year down, but anyway.
2017, 18 are most of them. I was looking at this morning.
2016, 17, 18 is like when it was in its award season. And like compared to some of the other games I've looked at and like looked up all the awards for, like in this series, this has been awarded the least number of things. But the other games I've looked at are like Catan, which has won every award, and people like made up awards to give it. It's still winning awards. This blows my mind. Like 3 years ago, some organization gave Catan like their Game of the Year award. Wow. I don't know how that happens. Like Codenames has won just everything you can imagine. And then Quacks of Quedlinburg won a lot of awards. But yeah, I don't know. Like I said, it's number 10 on BGG. It has been recognized by a number of different industries, so it's a really good game. So, how do you play the game? My quick little flow chart is on your turn, you move 1 to 6 spaces. you do the action, or if you run into Kansas City, you go to Kansas City and you do some stuff there. So that's the game, and I think that simplicity, not that the game is simple, but the simplicity is on your turn. You go, and you're limited to where you can go, so like your decision space gets shrunk a little bit, and so you're making a decision until eventually you run into Kansas City or choose to go to Kansas City, and then you make some decisions there. What would you add to that?
Well, it's one of the fun things about this game is that it's different every time you play it. It's not a standard set it up exactly the same way every time. I liked it when we would mix it up. It would change your strategy. Some games, like I've done the same thing with Catan actually, where Catan has this way where you're supposed to put the dots, the numbers in the specific areas. I got bored with that, so when I would start playing, I would just mix up the dots in my hand and kind of throw them out on the board, and they landed where they landed. And that's one of the things I like about this game. It kind of automatically does that for you. It's not the same setup every time, so you have to come in with a different strategy. Yeah,
like the order in which you're taking the actions changes. Yeah. And so, like, if you try to do the same thing that you did the last game, but the order of those actions is different, it can be pretty disastrous. But going back to talking about Catan, one interesting thing with me is we started playing that way, where we just shook them up and threw them out. But I've gone the other way. I like those numbers, like it balances the game by putting them in the order, and so I'm like, so that balance is more important to me than the randomness. I think the game's pretty random, like you're putting those tiles out all over. But we're not talking about Catan today. We're talking about Great Western Trail.
Right. Yeah, and I don't even really like Catan, to be quite honest. So I don't know why I even brought that up, but you brought it up earlier.
Yeah. So the point of this game is you're trying to score the most points, and the way you score points is by buying cows. The cows that you purchase are worth points themselves. You score points by building buildings, which also provide like additional actions to you that you can do. You score points by like going to the stations, and there's some gold cards that you can get. So there's a number of different ways to score points, and it's an efficiency engine. You're trying to figure out the best way to score points.
One of the fun things that I like about it is that with the strategy on this game is there, like Elden's saying, you have different ways to score points, and you can kind of choose. You kind of need to choose your strategy at the beginning of the game and know what you're going for by just looking at the setup. And some people would, I've noticed some people would win with one strategy often, and other people would win with a different strategy. Whether they're building their railroad, or they were going to focus on buildings, or going to hire a bunch of workers. However it happened to do, you could win with any strategy if you understood that strategy.
Yeah, I feel like there's a couple strategies that are a little stronger than others.
Yeah.
Like trying to win with building buildings being your main strategy is tough. I would say, but I think it's possible. I think I've done it once, and that might have been more of a reflection of just how the game played out. But it's not something I try to do because it seems really hard to do. But maybe that's just me. Sometimes you get into groupthink, when you play the same group all the time, and you don't explore things because you kind of all discount it. Anyway.
Yeah. I do remember a time that you decided you were only going to build the railroad. and you were just going to move. And I don't know if you ever did the actual end of the rail. I remember you got it really close, but there's where you get the end of the railroad and you can bump off of it. I can't remember if you ever got there that particular time, but that was I'm sure you won because I was playing, but
or at least somebody else.
It was
won.
An interesting strategy, and it seems like that there were some definite difficulties to using just the train strategy.
Yeah, I think no matter what strategy you're doing, you need to have a strong second point generator. Also, you find something that works together, because I think if you're getting all your points just from one area, you can't generate enough. There's no way to generate.
It all comes down to, and it's called Great Western Trail for a reason. It comes down to the cows.
Yeah.
And almost always, if somebody has a lot of cows, they're going to win. But sometimes the cards fall wrong. Like sometimes you're only getting ones and threes or whatever. The twos, we have it in two separate places. So if the cows are coming out low, you have to lean on a different strategy. So it's all about game awareness with this game.
Yeah, and we're getting to some more strategy stuff that maybe is appropriate for later in the slideshow, but the one thing about the game is to get cows, you need to have cowboys, and sometimes it's hard to get cowboys.
Yeah.
And you can game the game so that you're kind of denying other people cowboys, or even having the chance of getting them. If you don't have cowboys, getting cows is expensive and hard, and so you kind of have to do something else. But anyway, do you remember the first time you played it?
Oh yeah. This game was scary the first time. I saw that the BGG the weight ranking was something like 3.25 out of 5, like 3.27 or something like that. And I agree with the weight, because especially the beginning. Once you learn this game, it's not that difficult.
Right.
But there is so much the first time you play this game that I can remember being very overwhelmed with all of the things and trying to remember what you could do. But it was intriguing from the very get-go. At the same time of it being difficult, the gameplay was fun. I love the movement. I love the choices of what you could do. Just being able to plan ahead, because you can see ahead in this game. You don't know what you're you're going to go 1 to 3 spaces into the game.
Yeah.
And it's pretty open, so you can always be looking ahead to see what's coming up and do some planning. So, but the first time, it was pretty overwhelming.
Yeah, the first time I played this game was at my friend Ian's house, and I think it's just a regular game night. He invited some people over, so I went over there, and I remember I was like trying to figure out this game. It took me like halfway through the game to like even figure out what was going on.
Yeah,
but I remember like that was pretty fun. And I think I played it again at least one more time with him at just a game night, and kind of got more of the flow. But I remember when I bought the game, I was in Spokane. I was waiting for my kids. Surprise, surprise. And I was at a game store, and I was looking around, and I was like, I wonder if they have Great Western Trail. And they didn't have it, but it was Uncle's in Spokane, and they have 2 stores. And it's like, let me call the other store, see if they have it. And it's like, yeah, they have 1 copy left. And I was like, I made a very rash decision. I was like, yeah, I want it. And so I drove all the way out to Spokane Valley to go pick it up from their other store. And I was not planning on buying a game that day, but I bought it, and it ended up being, great purchase, my favorite game, and a game I've played a bunch. And
he reciprocated to me when I got married. That was one of my wedding gifts, was Great Western Trail. So.
That's right, it was. Yeah.
That's how I got it.
How often do you get to play it these days?
Not super often. My wife loves to play, but a game that is this complex, she shies away from sometimes, but she's a sweetheart and she will play it with me.
Yeah. What's her favorite game?
We actually like Splendor.
Okay.
We love Splendor a lot, and we love actually the other one is one that you gave me too, is the Spice Road.
Oh, Century Spice Road. Yeah, those are both really good games.
2 of our most favorite.
Yeah. Cool. Awesome.
I think you also gave me Hobbit Love Letters, and we actually have really had a lot of fun playing Hobbit Love Letters.
Yeah, I might. I don't remember what I gave you. I felt anyway. But yeah, maybe I gave you a bunch of games. So what is it about the game? If you had to say one thing, what's the one thing about the game that makes you want to go back to it? What brought you back to this game 30 times in a month?
I like games that are different every time I play them. We had also been playing another game that I really loved, Zolkin. And it reminded me a lot of that, as far as that you could use different strategies and still be successful. I like a game that helps you feel successful. You can see yourself building things and earning and gaining, even if you're not winning. I mean, because I'm not a gamer. I don't play games to win. I play games for the social experience and people laughing at each other and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That probably came out of necessity because I don't win, but I'm just a glass half full type of guy. But this is one of those games that you can feel successful all throughout the game. It's almost like a game against yourself while you're playing against other people. And Zolkin actually had that very similar, and actually Dominion has a very similar feeling to it in that sense.
I just remember a couple times playing Zolkin, and like we let you get all those crystal skulls, and you destroyed us.
That was the one game that I actually could compete in.
Yeah, that one. I think Terra Mystica. I think you won every time we played it.
Yeah.
That was, for some reason, that game clicks for you, and it doesn't for me. So anyway, I taught that game to somebody else just recently, and I lost terribly. Like, I knew I was the only one who knew how to play the game, and I just couldn't do it. I know I can teach people how to play it. I don't know how to win. Absolutely not. Yeah, for me, like going back to it's like it's a different puzzle every time. And there's a lot of situational things. There's things I always try to do. Like I fall back to the same strategies a lot. But even then, you're forced to do things differently, and figuring out how to do that the best way possible is just a good game. And once you
and you know, one of the things that I liked a lot about it was that other players have a sizable impact on what you do.
Yeah.
You already mentioned the cowboy thing. I mean, these guys come out on a random draw, and so it could be all cowboys or no cowboys.
Yeah.
I mean, we've had games where almost no cowboys came out, so it completely changed your strategy. And then there's building those buildings, because every building that's built, now you have to count that as a moving space.
Yeah.
So now that changes the pace at which you go through the game. So this game slows down a little bit as you go through, unless you buy you're able to get those extra move.
Yeah. And that's another thing I really like about this game. And Maracaibo, that I mentioned earlier, does a similar thing, where you have like this player board, and like decisions that you're making in the game like make you more efficient at doing different things or give you extra abilities,
right,
or different options. And everybody has the same options available to them, but you can do something different. Like you can get more cards in your hand, but it costs you. And so it's a trade-off. Yeah. It's like, I'm giving up money now that can really hamstring me for this next go-around in order to get more cards in my hand, which gives me more flexibility, gives me the ability to have a bigger herd when I sell it at the end. And, geez. Yeah, I don't know. And that board, I think, is actually the thing that really sets this game apart. Not that other games don't have personal boards like that, but in this game, that personal board like brings so much. And like, and even though everybody has the same buildings available to them, like some people don't build buildings at all, and some people build buildings, and they have different actions that now are available to them. And and where you build on the board. I mean, you have your favorite spot in that top right-hand corner. You used to love to build. Always build the same building there. I love that. I love that building. I love that spot. The last few times I've played with Steve, he just makes it really hard for me. Like, so I've had to pivot away from that because, like, you know, I went to that well too many times, and now he does everything in his power to like make it really hard for me. If I do build a building there, he makes it really hard for me to go there effectively.
Yeah, because you can put those. Yeah. You can put those. What do you call? I can't remember what they're called.
The hazards.
Yeah, the hazards over there, and you know, and I remember him when he started to do that. If no hazards came out there, that was the first thing he did.
Yeah,
find a way to put hazards up there.
Yeah, for sure.
So that he could slow you down because he knew where your sweet spot was. But
yeah, and the thing is, like, not that there's a ton of direct interaction, but there's a lot of passive interaction. Like him putting those, you have choices, but they're gonna come out. You know, but where they go and how you do things, you're not.
And when they come out,
you're not directly hurting me, but you're hurting me because you're making me alter my strategy, but I can't like attack you directly, which I don't like in games. I don't like fighty games like that. But
me either.
Anyway, let's go and go to the next slide. So expansions and variants and promos. I have not played all of them. I have played the Rails to the North one time. I don't own it, but I played on a friend's copy. And you know, the one thing that this game does is it adds a bunch of small cities that you can take your train to.
Oh.
And it creates more ways to move that train faster because you have to move it quite a bit if you're going to use that strategy. And it just it unlocks these like little abilities. It unlocks these little like benefits and stuff and other scoring opportunities. And it's interesting. I don't think have to play with it to enjoy the game. But it was, after playing it 49 times, it's another way to mix it up a little bit, adds a little variety.
Yeah.
Have you ever played
does this add some pieces to the same board itself? Is that
it adds like a board on top of the board, like where the train track runs at the top, and instead of just going straight across, you can like go out, or maybe you even have a second train. It's been too long, I don't remember. But anyway, you can go up and you can like visit these cities, and you have like these little buildings that you can put out there when you go to them. And yeah,
gotcha.
And there's a couple other things that adds to the game, but that's the big thing that it changes. And it's okay. It didn't add a ton of time to the game. It does add a little complexity. I don't think you'd want to play it if you've never played the game before. Like, I think you want to play the game and then add like some expansions. Some games have expansions.
You don't want to add anything. Yeah.
This game is hard enough. Like, it has enough like front loaded information anyway. You don't need to add more. So
it's too heavy.
Yeah, too heavy just to throw it in there. But
but there's some like Carcassonne. You could throw in some of the expansions the very first time you ever play that, and it's not going to be that big a deal.
Yeah, it's not a big deal because that game's pretty simple. But
thinking of time, you mentioned time played on this one. I saw BGG said 75 to 150 minutes. I mean that's an interesting range of time.
Yeah, but I noticed like 2-player. I think Steve and I have whipped it out in an hour.
Yeah, that's what I was just thinking as I saw that this gameplay time really depends on the players that are playing, and it can depend on the number of players, but it's more on the speed of the players and their knowledge of the game.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you and I could fly through this game if we wanted to, and we could cruise.
Yeah.
But you add in a player that likes to think a lot,
or even just one. I think just one more player. Like
even just one more player. Yeah.
They just have to take their time to do their thing. So like it's going to add another half hour, 45 minutes, to the game, and
it changes your strategy. That extra player can really make a difference. And I know we played with, I think, up to 4. It might have been the most. I think you and I and Jason,
I think it taps out at 4.
Steve.
Yeah.
4 was brutal. That was like a 3 or 4 hour game. But of course we were playing with Jason and Steve, and they both have 20-minute turns when you and I will do 20-second turns.
They're thinkers. They think.
But it is a difference. And I think ideal is 3 people with this game. 4 was too much. 2 is really fun, but 3 just adds a dimension to the game that you can't quite plan as well. There's a little more time. You're not going to get to Kansas City as often. That's one thing I remember the first time we played with 3 people. We're like, whoa, we're used to going to Kansas City 5 or 6 times, and here we only got here 3 or 4.
Yeah. Yeah, probably more. Yeah. There are more things that come out that do delay it, but it does seem like you get through there a little bit faster, and and if one person is like really gunning it through, they take up a couple of turns that other people get, and that's more likely to happen with more players. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, what's the fun stuff? What's like the most fun thing about the game for you?
Oh, I think the most fun thing is trying to plan that big turn. You have your favorite little thing up there where you get 2 things to do on every turn, right?
Right.
But you can build it up on that one place where you get to do this and then do this, and then I get to move forward. It allows me to do that, and those, to me, that's the fun part of a lot of games. I mean, I think of Dominion in the same thing. Once you start, pairing up cards and building on yourself, that's when you've really nailed a turn. To me, that's the fun part.
Yeah, sometimes to the detriment of winning the game. It's like,
right.
That happens to me all the time. I was like, I got this awesome combo. It's gonna da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Oh, you won. Nah, shoot.
Yeah.
But I got that combo, and it was amazing.
Exactly. It's kind of like playing golf, right? You get the shot in a round of 18, and you come back and play again.
Yeah, that's right. It only takes one shot a day to make you keep playing.
That's right.
Yeah. For me, I think the fun stuff is, I think what you're saying is just making that great combo, finding like that great through thread, like the great sequence where maybe not even in the same turn, but I was like, I'm gonna do this, which is gonna set me up to do this, and let me set up do that.
Right.
I love when you can when you pull it off, where you can get that ability, and you can buy 3 employees in one shot.
Right.
That just feels fantastic.
Yeah, that combo, that extra individual board. I don't think you showed a picture of it on here anywhere, but the game board that you have, where you have all your chips on it, and fill out where you put in your employees down there. Right toward the tail end of that, there are some sweet combos that you can really, especially with the conductors, that you can really throw together some sweet combos.
Yeah, so actually this picture right here, that's the expansion thing at the top.
Oh, okay.
And so you're like, you see like a train, so you can follow that train and stop off at these little cities where you can drop off discs, and they just have some abilities there and some extra things.
Okay.
But yeah, cool. Anyway, that's that expansion. So what's the not so fun stuff for you? I think I know what you're gonna say.
It can be very frustrating when it doesn't work out. Like this is a game that when things are working, it's really fun. But there are times where it just nothing just works for you. It feels like the world is combined against you, and you can't move, you can't get cows. Somebody's stealing all the cowboys, Elden, and there's just, so you're just, and the other person is just wiping through the game, and you're sitting here. Okay, I got 3 cows, and you got 30. Okay.
Yeah, or I'm drawing my 4 gray cows all the time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Or I always have those, or I have that great hand of like 2 blacks, 2 whites, and a gray. It's like, ugh.
Yeah, and you're 1 move away from Kansas City, and you can't do anything.
Yeah. The one thing that's another thing about this game, going back to the fun stuff, that pushing of the train track so that you can open up new cities, so you can sell more expensive herds, and like the penalty, like you can't go to the same city twice, and those penalties for taking those low cities too often, or too many of those low cities, but it really pushes you. You gotta move that train up, and you've got to get a big herd, and so it kind of directs you in the thing that you should be doing, which is buying cows.
It does.
And which is good, but just sometimes harder than it
and
should be.
And with the not so fun stuff, the cow thing can be very frustrating sometimes too, because they'll either be all the same.
Yeah.
When they come out, they're all exactly the same. Yeah, and you're like, okay, I've got a ton of yellow cows or whatever. It doesn't do me any good to buy another yellow cow because I can't use it anyway. I mean, it does good in the end.
Yeah.
But it clogs you up as you're trying to go through. So it's interesting to. I think the other thing are those dang chips that you have to buy off to be able to use the abilities. The 2 times trash a card, draw a card, those ones, or those. It can be really hard to access those abilities in some game setups just because of the way the gameplay works.
Yeah, and that's part of just the strategy of finding the strategy there. And then and I would say the biggest problem with the game is that I do think cowboys are the most important.
Yeah.
Buying cows is the most important. Like those 2 are the most important things, and they kind of go hand in hand. And it's through no fault of your own, you can get just kind of shafted and not be able to really compete in those arenas, because if you can't get the cowboys, you can't get the cows.
The cows.
Or it's just so expensive to buy the cows that you're really missing out on other stuff. And when something that's that important, it can sometimes just you get shafted out of. Kind of, obviously not enough. It's still my favorite game, but it is the one thing I would say can be frustrating, and I recognize it can be frustrating.
Yeah, that would be nice if there could be some kind of a balance to that, because, and a lot of times, like you said, it's no fault. It's just a luck thing. I mean, really, there isn't a lot of luck to this game, but that part, the employees coming out, especially the cowboys, is luck, because, like we said earlier, if only one comes out, somebody buys it, they've got that leg up until another one comes out, and the cowboys, it seems like invariably the other cowboys that come, the ones that cost the most, the 6 or 9.
And there is some control when those come out, but sometimes it's like the rhythm of the game is like they come out and they're available for one person over and over again.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is by via some clever play, but usually just kind of the luck of how those things came out. But
yeah.
Anyway, there's other things to do, I guess. Okay.
Yeah, but there's not very many not so fun stuff. That's why it's our favorite.
Yeah, for sure. So, final thoughts. Terrible game, right? Just the worst. What are some final thoughts you have for the game?
I think that this is one of those games that it'll be fun right at the beginning if you let it be. If you try to get too I don't know what's the word. If you try to think too much at the beginning of this game, it's going to blow you over.
Yeah.
You need to jump in and just. This is one of those games where it's nice to have a general idea how the game flows, but then you have to get in and play it to understand it. And you mentioned that the first time even you played it, you're like, what the heck? It takes a while to play this game. So my recommendation to anybody who hasn't tried this game is find out what the basic movements are and then just do it.
Yeah.
And if you come across something, go to the rules and see how I handle this. But don't try to eat the whole elephant.
Yeah, that's
in one bite.
That's my strategy. That's really good advice for a lot of games, especially more complex games. Lose the first game. It doesn't matter. Just learn it. Like, try things out. Maybe think a little bit, because that's how you're gonna learn. But the real learning is when you what's that saying? We're teachers. I should know this one off the top of my head. Learning is experience plus reflection.
Yeah.
Experience it, then think about it, and then come back and try something new.
And experience it again.
Yeah. But yeah, for sure. Definitely was. Just a really great game. I'm glad that I purchased this. I'm glad that I got to play it so many times with you and found some people who also really liked it. We got to play it a lot. I'm really grateful for that in my life. I mean, if you like heavier European style games at all, and you haven't played Great Western Trail, highly recommend it. Maybe you won't like it as much as me, but you'll probably like it a little bit. Just really top-notch game all around. But yeah, I think that wraps up our show today.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. That's fun.
Yeah, thanks for coming. Again, check out Shane. Was it Shane Provost?
Shane Provost. Yep.
On YouTube.
On YouTube.
Watch his funny COVID songs and enjoy that. And but I will see you sometime in the future. I really need to come up with a tagline.
Where? I'm making a YouTube video, Bev.